Welcome class 11th. Today I will continue your discussion regarding atomic structure. So far in my previous lectures I had discussed about Dalton's atomic theory and discharge tube experiment that led to the discovery of electrons. Briefly to remind you, Dalton in his theory proposed that atom is an undivisible particle. It is not made up of anything and it is indestructible or uncuttable. It can neither be created nor be destroyed. And on the basis of this theory, most of the known facts of that time has been explained properly. Scientific community was very happy with this undivided atom. It was proposed in 1807. Later on in the year 1840, Michael Faraday studied phenomena of electrolysis in detail, and therein for the first time he said that there is something which carries the charge in the matter. Then experiments on static electricity or frictional electricity also has taken place that has strengthened the belief that there is something in matter which carries charge or which is responsible for these type of electrolytic phenomena or electronic phenomena, etc. we can say. Then Julius Plucker and William Crookes, they had undertaken the job and did this discharge tube experiment. And as a result of discharge tube experiment, negatively charged particle of matter was discovered, and that was named as electron. Now, if matter as a whole is electrically neutral and it contains a negatively charged particles, so there must be some positively charged particle also. And this idea has triggered the search for that positively charged particle, and a modified discharge tube experiment was done by Goldstein, and by detailed study of this experiment, positively charged particle was discovered. So in our this module I will discuss that how this modified discharge tube experiment led to the discovery of positively charged particle or proton. So let us try to understand what was discharge tube experiment. Then I will tell you what is the modification that is done. So in discharge tube experiment, a glass tube of about 60 to 70 centimeters long was taken. This tube was fitted with two metal electrodes at both ends, and these metal electrodes were attached to a source of high voltage. At one end, the tube was connected with a vacuum pump so that air which is present inside this tube can be withdrawn and pressure inside the tube can be adjusted to desired levels. This was the discharge tube experiment. And when at low pressures high voltage was applied, a greenish glow was observed behind anode. Greenish glow, and this has resulted in the discovery of electrons. Now when Goldstein repeated this experiment, he taken a perforated cathode. This cathode now some holes were being made here, and a perforated cathode was used. And when same experiment was repeated, a glow was also observed behind the cathode. And reason for this glow was the invisible rays that were originated from anode and moved towards the cathode. So these rays were named as anode rays, or as they pass through the holes of cathode, they were also called as canal rays. A detailed study of these rays revealed that these rays were also made up of positively charged particles. But there was some difference between in the nature of particles in this case and particles of cathode rays. First, in case of cathode rays, charge on the particle was found to be same irrespective of the nature of cathode, material of cathode, or irrespective of the nature of gas which is taken inside the discharge tube. But in case of anode rays, charge on the particles of anode rays, they were different, and they depends on the nature of gas that is taken inside the tube. And either it was equal to charge on the particles of cathode rays, or it was found to be an integral multiple of it. It was either twice or thrice to the charge on particles of cathode rays. Secondly, E by m values was also different, and that also dependent on the nature of gas taken. So in case of cathode rays, whatsoever was the nature of cathode taken, whatsoever metal that was used to make cathode, and whatsoever was the gas taken inside the tube, whether it was hydrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, neon, no problem. Every time similar type of particles were obtained. But in case of these positively charged particle, charge was not same. It was either equal to the charge on particles of cathode rays, or it was integral multiple of it. It was 2 times or 3 times of it. And charge by mass ratio, that is E by m, was also different. However, When hydrogen gas was used inside this discharge tube, the smallest particles were obtained having charge equal to that of electron. So it was considered that the particle that is obtained in case of hydrogen gas is the fundamental positively charged particle, and this particle was named as proton, and it has a positive charge of 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulombs and a mass of 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 27 grams, which is almost 1837 times to that of mass of electron. So that is how the positively charged and negatively charged electron particles of matter are discovered. For the discovery of positively charged particles of atom, this modified discharge tube was used by E. Goldstein, wherein this cathode used was perforated. It was having pores, and once the experiment was repeated in the same way, a greenish glow was obtained behind the cathode also, and it was concluded that this glow was because of some positively charged rays that is starting from anode and traveling towards cathode. In first experiment, once this solid cathode was used, because of low penetration power, they were not able to cross this cathode and they doesn't create that glow. But once the perforated cathode was used, a path was given these particles or these rays to travel, the glow was observed. And when the properties of these cathode rays were studied in detail, it was concluded that these cathode rays are made up of positively charged particles. These rays, these anode rays or these canal rays, they also travel in a straight direction as they cast shadow. They also rotates a small paddle wheel placed in their path. So this confirms that they are made up of material particles, but their charge was not uniform in each case. Charge on these particles were dependent on the nature of gas that was taken, and charge by mass ratio was also found to be different. That means in case of cathode rays, particles of cathode rays were identical in each case, but in case of anode rays, particles of anode rays were not identical, they were different, and smallest lightest particle was obtained when hydrogen gas was taken in the discharge tube. Later on, when its charge and charge by mass ratio was determined, charge was found to be exactly same as it is on the electron, but the nature was opposite. In case of electron, charge is minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, while in case of proton, charge is plus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus coulomb, 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb, and mass of proton was found to be 1.67 into 10 to the power minus 27 grams. Now let us try to understand something regarding origin of these cathode rays and anode rays. And in the view of our modern understanding of atom, say for example, this is discharge tube, this is discharge tube, here we have cathode which is perforated. In this way it has many holes on it. This is anode of solid metal, and here we have hydrogen which has one proton inside and one electron. Now once the voltage was applied, under the influence of voltage, first electrons are given out from the material of cathode, and these high energy electrons, they moved and collide with the atoms or molecules of the gas present in the discharge tube, and under the influence of these electrons that were present in the molecules of hydrogen or any other gas, they were also given out, and this beam of electron is produced that travels towards positive electrode because of opposite charges. And these kernels, so because of emission of these electrons, the molecule or atom of gas is now ionized and becomes positively charged, and they travel towards the cathode which was negatively charged and pass through these holes and cause the glow in the back of cathode. So since electrons are same whether they are given out from the material of cathode or they are given out from the molecules of gas, irrespective of gas, so the particles of cathode rays are same in every case, but these ionized molecules of gas, they are different, they have got different mass, and some of the gases given out 1 electron, some of gases are given out 2 electrons, so the charge on them was also not fixed, but it was found to be integral multiple of charge on electron. So that is how these developments has given lead to the discovery of electron and proton. However, had the atom was having only these electrons and protons, then the total weight of atom should be equal to the sum of individual weight of these particles. But when atomic masses were determined, their values were found to be almost twice to that of expected value. Why I am emphasizing that word twice? Because if there was some difference, then that could be considered as experimental error, but that was not the case. Actually determined values are far away from the expected values. So it is concluded that atom has something else also which we are not able to get, which we are not able to find out as on date. However, this third component of atom was discovered much later. In 1932, Sir James Chadwick bombarded certain smaller atoms like beryllium and boron with high energy alpha particles, and therein he determined the emission of an electrically neutral particle that was having almost same mass to that of proton, but it was not having any charge. It was electrically neutral. So the particle was named as neutron. It was not having any charge, no charge, and its mass was almost equal to that of mass of proton. So that is how the journey that was started with discharge tube experiment ended here, and it was a very well established fact by now that atom is divisible and is made up of three types of subatomic particles: electron, proton and neutron. Electron, proton and neutron. Now, except hydrogen that does not contain neutron, all other known elements of this earth or otherwise are known to have these three particles. Hydrogen doesn't have a neutron, but the isotopes of hydrogen, deuterium and tritium, they have got neutron also. And apart from hydrogen, all other elements that are known as on date, they are known to have electrons, protons and neutrons. And because of this, these particles are called as fundamental particles. Now, we know that electrons and protons, they were discovered much early, but neutrons were discovered quite late. So there is an obvious question that why it was so. Simple answer is that these electrons and protons, they were charged particles. They have some sort of charge. They have got a negative charge, they have got a positive charge, and because of their charged nature, they deflected from their path and were caught early. But neutron was not having any charge. It is electrically neutral, so it remained unaffected through the influence of electric fields or magnetic fields, and this was the reason for its late discovery. So once it was well established that atom is divisible and is made up of these three types of fundamental particles: electrons, protons and neutrons, a question arises about their distribution in atom. How these subatomic particles are distributed in the atom. So the first atomic model was proposed by Thomson, and It was named after him as Thomson's atomic model. And according to Thomson, he says that all the positive charge of atom is uniformly spread and electrons are embedded in it at different parts. And total number of electrons and protons are same. That means the amount of positive charge present is equal to the amount of negative charge present in the atom, and electrostatic force of attraction that operates between them holds them together. So this model explains the electrical neutrality. This model is also called as watermelon model. Or plum pudding model. We all have seen watermelon. If you cut it from the inside, you can see a red colored kernel which is present, which is eaten, and black colored seeds which are embedded in it. Or we have seen that cake in which the small pieces of cherry are embedded. So according to the Thomson, that red colored kernel is similar to the uniformly distributed positive charge of atom, and as these black colored seeds are embedded in this red colored kernel, in the similar way negatively charged electrons are also embedded in it, and that is how the model was called as watermelon model or plum pudding model. But this model was basically proposed on gut feeling. It was not based on scientific observations, and apart from explaining the electrical neutrality, it was not able to explain other observed facts. So the model was discarded. So students, by this time I had told about Dalton's atomic theory. Then I told about discovery of electrons, discovery of protons, then discovery of neutron, and Thomson's atomic model. In our next discussion, I will tell about Rutherford's gold foil experiment and its outcomes. Thank you.